Welcome to the session on Mughal painting. The Mughal invasion of India, with its establishment under a powerful dynasty of an essentially Persian culture at the center, meant that two radically different civilizations were brought into intimate contact with each other, and as far as painting was concerned, the stimulus of Persian masters and Persian technique awoke in Indian artists an ancient talent that had been gradually declining from classic standards. Mughal painting was essentially a court art. It developed under the patronage of the ruling Mughal emperors and began to decline when the rulers lost interest. The subjects treated were generally secular, consisting of illustrations to historical works and Persian and Indian literature, portraits of the emperor and his court, studies of natural life, and genre scenes. Babur, the founder of the dynasty, was himself interested in painting, but neither he nor his son Humayun, who spent most of his reign in exile, ruled long enough in India to leave a lasting personal impress. Humayun, however, while in Persia, had come into contact with the great court painters of that country, two of the most accomplished of whom, Mir Sayyid Ali and Khwaja Abdul Samad, he induced to enter his service. Both were highly honored in India, one being given a title Marvel of the Realm, while the other was made Master of the Mint in the succeeding reign. And these two were entrusted in turn with the duty of superintending the illustration of the romance of the Islamic hero Amir Hamza, a task in which 50 painters, including many Indians, are said to have been employed. The execution of this ambitious work, which entailed over 2000 very large illustrations, seems to have formed a kind of training school for the Indian artist. A number of these paintings still survive, many at South Kensington and the British Museum. Now let us look at the characteristics of mature Persian painting. It is a two-dimensional art, ideally suitable for manuscript illustration, eschewing shading and perspective, essentially decorative in intention, and marked above all by its brilliant use of mosaics of pure color and its swift calligraphic line drawing. Its conventions, such as the high hill background, certain stereotyped gestures, the adoption of several points of view simultaneously, the employment of elaborate patterns in carpets or canopies or architectural details, its Chinese cloud forms, its flowers affectionately enlarged, are all deliberate departures from nature into a world of sheer romance. If we compare the Hamza illustrations with Persian work, we are struck by obvious differences. With a few exceptions, which apart from such matters as costume are purely Persian in appearance, there is a certain confusion in these elaborate and often forceful compositions. The strong colors are sometimes unsatisfactory. In the drawing of trees and other features, there is a new naturalism. Thus, early though it would appear, probable that most of the Hamza illustrations belong to Akbar's reign, the Indian painters were showing their independence. And in the painting of Akbar's reign, generally this is quite unmistakable. As it was rooted in a diverse mix of cultural, religious and artistic traditions, the art of miniature paintings in India became one of the richest and most productive schools. This spell of the art has carved out its own place in the history of Islamic art too. Akbar. Akbar's painters had wide opportunities of practicing their art, the emperor had himself taken drawing lessons in his youth, and he collected an enormous library of Persian manuscripts, many being illustrated. His calligraphers, miniaturists, and other craftsmen were employed in copying and adorning both the Persian classics and those of India, as well as on the chronicles of the reign of the emperor and his ancestors. An immense album of portraits of all the notables of the time was also formed, and a number of illustrated books of animal fables were produced. Though retaining the upright format, general setting, and flat aerial perspective of Persian painting, the Indian artists of Akbar's court exhibited an increasing naturalism and detailed observation of the world around them. Empathy for animals is evident in the illustrations of the animal fables, particularly the Kaliawa Dimna and the Anvare Suhaili. Other outstanding series are the illustrations of the Ramsname, the Persian name for the Hindu epic the Mahabharata, in the City Palace Museum, Jaipur, and the Diwan of Hafiz in the Reza Library, Rampur. Outstanding painters of the period were Daswant and Basavan. There are pictures of religious teachers and groups of ascetics, bunting and fowling scenes. We see the cultivators at work in the fields, builders and artificers at their task, and shepherds with their flocks. But for the most part, it is a world of court and camp with occasional zanana scenes, though life portraits of ladies of high rank were never probably painted. That is chiefly pictured with incidental glimpses of servants, musicians, dancers, wrestlers, and so on. The names of nearly 150 of Akbar's court painters are known by their signatures or from inscriptions, and it is interesting to observe that most of the names are those of Hindus, to whose skill indeed Akbar's chronicler Abul Fasl accords special prize. Islamic painters worked under the ban of the theologians, the prohibition being based on the theory that the painter in producing forms of life was usurping the creator's function. It is a remarkable proof of Akbar's independence of mind, as well as an example of the mystical side of his complex nature, that he expressly opposed the orthodox view, saying that the painter had peculiar means of recognizing God and of realizing his inferiority to the only giver of life. Neither Hindus nor Mohammedans could have had the consciousness that they were working, like the painters of the Christian Europe or ancient Buddhism, under the protection and encouragement of a great religion. Both at least were free to develop a close literalism, whether in landscape or in the delineation of human or animal forms. Many Persian conventions still lingered on side by side with new features, but these mostly disappeared before the middle of Jahangir's reign, and it is at any rate impossible to mistake a typical Akbari miniature for Persian work. Persian example had taught much to the Indian painters. It had enriched their palette and refined their line, but it left few permanent traces. Akbar came into contact with Western painting, which from the first seems to have roused in him intense interest through the Portuguese Jesuits. He invited a Jesuit mission to his court, and in 1580 the fathers presented him with a copy of Plantin's Polyglot Bible, illustrated with Flemish engravings. Before long, he set his painters to copy and adapt European paintings. Both he and his son Jahangir welcomed as presents religious and secular pictures with which they used to adorn their palaces. There are indications further that though the impetus came from above, the foreign style appealed to Indians of all classes. Jahangir. It was in Jahangir's reign that Mughal painting reached its greatest height of accomplishment. We miss some of the intense movement, the bustle and hurry which the mainly narrative purpose of the miniatures of the preceding reign had often evoked, with varying success. And this change is reflected in a tendency to rectilinear design. The painters are, however, if less daring, much more practiced in technique. The earlier crudity of color gave place to a surer taste, producing luminous effects of striking beauty, while the line gained in subtlety and strength. The emperor, whose passion for field sports and the wine cup was accompanied by a genuine aesthetic strain, as appears clearly from his memoirs, was profoundly affected by the beauty of the natural world and had an artist's eye for the grace of birds and animals. He prided himself, as his European visitors tell, on his judgment of the work of his artists, on some of whom he bestowed titles, raising them above the lowly status to which custom assigned them. One of them, Mansour, made many sensitive and minutely detailed bird and animal studies, a number of which still exist. But it is in portraiture that the painters of this reign above all excelled, and it was through portraiture, no doubt, that the Mughal miniature became partly, at least, emancipated from the manuscript. Some of the portraits and portrait groups were embellished with broad margins, exquisitely adorned with flower patterns or representations of animal and hunting, subjects or scenes of contemporary life. Entertainments, incidents of the chase, every aspect of the emperor's life on journeys in the zenana or paying a visit to a holy man, darbar and processional scenes with every person present truthfully portrayed, such subjects are the most characteristic productions of the reign. It was here that Western conventions for the literal representation of reality doubtless made their appeal. In design too, now much more satisfying, often indeed masterly, the organic structure of European example had marked effects. Though the old tendency towards symmetry is never altogether eliminated. Influence apart, there is real sensibility, real creative power, irrespective of mere technical skill in the best work of the time. Noted painters of the period were Abu al-Hasan, called the wonder of the age, Bishan Das, praised for his portraiture, and Ustad Mansour, who excelled in animal studies. Shah Jahan. The elegance and richness of the Jahangir period style continued during the reign of Shah Jahan, but with an increasing tendency to become cold and rigid. Genre scenes such as musical parties, lovers on a terrace, or ascetics gathered around a fire became frequent, and the trend continued in the reign of Aurangzeb. In portraiture, existing examples often show astonishing psychological insight. Many of them are most delicate line drawings, sometimes slightly colored. It was for certain portraits of this period that Sir Joshua Reynolds expressed his admiration. The line work has been compared by some critics to that of Holbein or Clouet. The painting now includes a wider range of genre subjects and takes on a less exclusively aristocratic color. The life of the common people appearing before only in glimpses, being now the subject here and there of separate studies, often of great verisimilitude and humor. The emperors who followed Aurangzeb were too weak and the state too poor to support the production of sumptuous paintings and books as before. Under Bahadur Shah and Muhammad Shah, there was a slight resurgence in the arts, but the 1739 raid of Delhi by Nadir Shah caused much of the city's population to flee and the artistic community to be permanently dispersed. By the 1800s, the Mughals were nominally still emperors of India, but under the protection of the British. By that time, other schools of Indian painting had developed, including in the royal courts of the Rajput kingdoms of Rajputana, Rajput painting, and in the cities ruled by the British East India Company, the company style under Western influence. Important painters. Abu al Hasan. One of the leading Mughal painters of the Emperor Jahangir's atelier, honored by the emperor with the title Nadir al-Zaman or Wonder of the Age. Abu al Hasan's main task was the documentation of events at the imperial court, which resulted in many superb portraits. Not many of Abu al Hasan's paintings survived, but those that identify him as the artist show that he also worked on a range of subjects, including some everyday scenes. The most famous painting associated with his name, Squirrels in a Plane Tree, held in the British Library, is a masterful depiction of animal posture and movement that could only have been derived from direct observation. Since the painting depicts European squirrels unknown in India, his work suggests that Jahangir Zoo may have held a few of these animals. Alternatively, Abu al Hasan may have accompanied Jahangir on one of his travels. The signature on the painting is confusing. Nadir al-Asar, Miracle of the Age, is the title of Ustad Mansur, not of Abu al Hasan. But the painting is definitely not Ustad Mansur's style. It is possible that both painters collaborated on this painting. Ustad Mansur. Ustad Mansur started his career during the last few years of Akbar's reign as a minor painter. But during the reign of Jahangir, he created his masterpieces. Jahangir bestowed on him the title of Nadirul Asar or Wonder of the Age. His two signed works, one of a rare Siberian crane and the other of a Bengal florican, are in the Indian Museum, Kolkata. His other works are in the National Museum, Delhi, the Maharaja Savai Mansingh II Museum, Jaipur, and the Chhatrapati Shivaji Vastu Sangrahalaya, Mumbai. Mushfiq. Mushfiq was a sub-imperial Mughal painter who worked in the atelier of Abdur Rahim Khani Khanan, commander-in-chief of the Mughal army in the late 16th, early 17th century. He contributed numerous paintings to the Ramayana and Razamnama or Mahabharata manuscripts commissioned by the Khani Khanan. Several individual paintings in hand, some of them signed, are also known. He is not known to have worked at Akbar or Jahangir's imperial workshops. Govardhan. He was a noted Indian painter of the Mughal school of painting. He was the son of another painter, Bhavani Das. He joined the imperial service during the reign of Akbar and he continued his work till the reign of Shah Jahan. The examples of his work survived till date show that he was fond of rich, sensuous color and softly modelled forms. Govardhan was one of the illustrators of the Babarnama, presently located in the British Museum, London. The Jahangir celebrating the festival of Abbashi, presently kept in the Raza Library in Rampur, India, is one of his significant creations. The portraits created by him in the Jahangir albums are presently in the collections of various American and European museums. He depicted the different human physiques of the Indians with much accuracy. Daswant. He was a leading Indian Mughal artist cited by Abu al-Fadl Alami, the historiographer of the Emperor Akbar's court, as having surpassed all painters to become the first master of the age. Little is known of his life, though it is conjectured that he was a Hindu, probably of humble origin. He came to the attention of Akbar, who personally placed him under the tutelage of the Persian master Khwaja Abd al-Samad. Only a few miniatures bearing his name have survived, the large majority of them illustrating the Jaipur Razamname. These works were designed by Daswant but painted by his associates. A miniature in the Cleveland Museum of Art's manuscript copy of the Tutinama or Parrot Book is the only painting on which he worked alone. Farrukh Beg, outstanding Mughal painter, praised by the Indian Mughal Emperor Jahangir as unrivaled in the age. His earliest paintings are strongly Persian in character, and he continued to be a conservative painter, not modifying his style to any considerable extent in the new environment. Several features of his later paintings, the large plants, color scheme, and treatment of drapery, have suggested that he might have spent some years in the Deccan. Khwaja Abdus Samad, Persian painter who together with Mir Said Ali was one of the first members of the Imperial Atelier in India and is thus credited with playing a strong part in the foundation of the Mughal school of miniature painting. Among Abdus Samad's greatest achievements was the supervision, together with his fellow Persian Mir Said Ali, of a large part of the illustrations of the Dastan-e Amir Hamse, a series that numbered about 1,400 paintings, all of unusually large size. As none of the paintings is signed, it is not certain whether he himself did any of them. Among the miniatures bearing his signature is one in the Royal Library in the Golistan Palace, Tehran, depicting Akbar presenting a miniature to his father Humayun. The work, though Persian in its treatment of many details, hints of the Indian style to come, evident in the realistic presentation of the life of the court. A more thoroughly Indianized version of Abdus Samad's painting style is found in an illustrated manuscript of the Khamse of Nizami, dated 1595, now part of the collection of the British Museum. Mir Said Ali, Persian miniaturist who together with his fellow countryman Abdus Samad emigrated to India and helped to found the Mughal school of painting. He was born probably in the second quarter of the 16th century in Tabriz, the son of a well-known artist of the Safavid school, Mir Musawwir of Sultaniye. He went to India at the invitation of the Mughal Emperor Humayun, arriving first in Kabul about 1545 and from there going on to Delhi. He and Abdus Samad instructed the artists of the Imperial Atelier, most of them Indians, and superintended the production of the giant miniatures illustrating the Dastan-e Amir Hamse. The few of his paintings that have survived were for the most part painted before his arrival in India. They are sufficient, however, to denote him as a highly gifted painter, wielding an unusually delicate brush and possessed of great powers of observation. Bishan Das. Bishan Das was a 17th century portrait painter at the court of the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. Jahangir praised him as unrivaled in the art of portraiture. Though little is known of Bishan Das's life, his name can indicate that he was a Hindu. In 1613, he was sent on a diplomatic mission to Persia to paint the Shah's portrait. Here, he was so successful that he stayed there until 1620. To conclude, we may say that Mughal painting is not merely a foreign importation without roots or permanence. It is incontestably a synthesis. It arose through the teaching of Persian artists, but the pupils did not paint like Persians. It borrowed even more freely from Europe than from Persia, but it remained true in essence to Indian traditional ideals, which asserted themselves more and more till the foreign borrowings became little more than reminiscences. Which are the important miniature schools in India? Compare their styles. Beach, Milo Cleveland, Early Mughal Painting, Harvard University Press, 1987. Titli Nora M., Persian Miniature Painting and its Influence on the Art of Turkey and India, 1983, University of Texas Press. Cossack Stephen, 1997, Indian Court Painting, 16th to 19th century, Metropolitan Museum of Art. Painting for the Mughal Emperor, The Art of the Book, 1560 to 1660, by Susan Strange. Painting The Mughal Experience by Som Prakash Verma, 2005. Fiction in Mughal Miniature Painting by Professor P.C. Jain and Dr. Dalji. Here we conclude this session on Mughal painting. We will meet again for another session. Till then,